YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. I know you've been waiting a long time for this. How to sharpen your blades on your zero turn or your not zero turn. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. Except when you have a zero turn, you have three that have run over many trees and different things.
Well, yours
So if you're like me, you went through and cleared trees with your zero turn like a moron, and you ended up with very out of balance blades and huge gigantic gouges. So these two are done, and I'll show you what we did to balance them. Yes, of course, you could find something that you lay down and then you balance the blade like this and you see which side's heavier. The problem is you have to get it dead center in the middle of that hole, and it's a lot harder than it looks. So I'll show you what we did. We're gonna turn on this little scale. We have a kitchen scale here. It's in grams just for easy figuring. And I basically have this blade and I'm gonna lay it onto this piece of steel that was sitting in the garage. I just have marked with a blue mark. And I'm gonna lay this thing on one side, and then I'm gonna lay it in the center of the scale, just like this. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna get a number. You'll notice it says 663, but I've written 662. Close enough for what we're doing, okay? Then I'm gonna pick up the blade and I'm gonna spin it around, and then I'm gonna lay this down so it's on the mark. And I'm gonna lay this down so it's on the center of the scale. And then you're gonna see that I wrote 675 and this says 678. Again, you gotta get these things positioned exactly right, and then you should get pretty similar results. But that is, the position's gotta be very close, okay? And you'll notice with this heavy twist in that blade, that's gonna make a difference. It makes it a lot harder if you got really twisty blades. Doesn't matter what type of hole you got. Again, the key is, when you balance it, you want it to be balanced so that as it spins, it doesn't vibrate your teeth out, okay? The other thing you can do is use the $1.50 calipers that you get at the dollar store, and you open them up like this, and you can say, okay, obviously this one's 675 and this one's 662 grams. Obviously we're split weighing this thing, so one side is heavier and one side's lighter. We don't really care what the number is, we just want to figure out which side's heavier so we know which side to take material off. So in this case, we're gonna measure here, and then we're gonna just come over here, and we don't even care what the measurement is. So obviously it's thicker, see guys? So there's a little bit more material here. So I took a blue marker, and I marked the spots that I thought I could bring down. You can tell right here, we've got this low point, okay? So that's just gonna help me as I'm using the grinder to clean this up. When we're done, we're gonna end up with something like this. This was really bad. It was on the main cut side. And then the other one, we ended up with 639 grams and 640. And then this other one, we ended up with 656 and 656. So we got that one tuned in just exactly right. So there's a million different ways to skin that cat. This is the way that worked really nice for us today. And we're gonna show you cleaning this up. And then we'll show you how much better it checks out here in just a second. Okay, so as you know, when you're sharpening these blades, you want to try to keep the same plane. You can use a belt sander or you can use a grinder. I prefer the grinder because it's so much faster. Well, easier because I don't have to go find my belt sander. So this is gonna be loud, guys. Sorry about that. Why don't we reposition? So we're trying to get it even. And once we get it even, then we can taper it. So now that we've taken off some material, we can go re-measure the weight difference on these two sides. So we'll do that next. All right, so through movie magic, I did just a little teeny bit more work on this spot here. I wanted to try to get this dead nuts, and it looks pretty good right there. Some people like a more blunt tip than others because the sharper tips are gonna dull quicker. Some people say, I'm not sure. I tend to disagree. So 675 is what we had before compared to 662. So we're gonna go ahead and just lay this on that point over here. Then we're gonna lay it on this point here, starting from 0. And we should come up with, whoops, dang it, I bumped it, guys, sorry, my apologies. We got that pretty close to the center. And so we're 660. If we get that exactly right, we should get pretty close to 60. So we'll call this 660. I'm gonna show them that. Show them the whole thing so they can kind of see what we're doing there. Okay, so then I'm gonna flip this around. So we're about 660. And then if we lay this down, and then we lay it down, and try not to make it rock like that. So we're 663 here. So we'll try that again and just see. It's hard because it gets so dang close. It's really hard to replicate the exact same position. But the idea is this is, okay, so now 662. So 662 compared to 663. And then you can take your marker and you can mark that. Of course, we already know. So 663, or excuse me, that one was 663. Yep, and then this one was 662, correct? So we know that we're within 1 gram and our scale measures in one gram division size. So we should be nice and balanced on this. Now, don't forget, you do need to start by kind of cleaning the blade because that's going to throw off your weights, but that's true with any other method you use. If you use something that's going to balance it like this, same exact scenario. So now let's go throw these back on the machine and we'll see how it sounds. So just, you know, this is just a impact with, this happens to be a 24 millimeter impact rated socket. So if you try to do this with regular tools, you're gonna be very frustrated. I tried it, I thought I could do it. There ain't no way you can do it. This has a 1600 inch-pound rating. I think they sell this one in an 1800 inch-pound rating as well. I love this thing for 2 reasons. The first reason is it does a 1/2 inch. The second reason is it also does regular impact bits, which is awesome, guys. If you don't already have one of these things, go get one like yesterday because it is the most awesome drill you're ever going to use. These impacts are so sweet, but this one's even more sweet because you can put your regular sockets in there too, and you can just do so much stuff. It's incredible. I love this tool. So getting back to tools, I measured the overall weight of these blades. There's 3 of them, obviously, for the 3 on this 54-inch John Deere. I've got a John Deere Z655, but it's got a 54-inch mowing deck. And so what I did was, this one is 1,293 grams. This one came from the left. So it would have been from the driver's seat. This is the side that gets beat the most when you run a 0 turn, because you run this up against structure, like right next to the structures and things like this. Then I've got one that's 1,312, so that's heavier than this one. And then I have one that is 1,337. So this is the heaviest. That one had come off of the right side. So over there on the discharge side. So this one, keep it going like this. You can always tell because those fins are gonna point upward. And then the blades are nice and sharp and they are gonna spin like this, obviously. So you're gonna feed your bolt through there. You'll see that little wear pattern where the thing sits. So lay that down. Then we have, this one is the lightest. And since we had the least amount of wear on it before, we are gonna go ahead and put that one over there. Same thing, they're all the same blades, okay? These are 19 inches long, okay? John Deere will say that it's a 550 millimeter blade. That's how big the box is. Very deceptive, okay? In fact, we are gonna prove that to you right now because I got burned by that, and where we will measure, it's over there.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So 19 inches long for a 54-inch deck on the John Deere tractor. There's your 19. We're 18 and 15/16 on this blade. Okay, so 19 inches, guys. not 550 millimeters, which is equivalent to 21.65 inches. That is a lot bigger blade.
Also, but if you look for a lot of replacement blades online, most of them are 17. So you have to make sure you find.
Yep. So this is the correct Oregon replacement. These are called Gator blades. Okay. So this is the correct part. We'll link to this. This is what I bought. And I was like, you know what? I've only used these blades for one season. Who cares if I ran over a bunch of trees? So this is what we're going to use if this doesn't work well. They were also about 81 bucks at the dealer. I'll link to it. You can save a few bucks unless you want to give your dealer some money. My dealer's been very good to me, so the extra $20 premium wasn't a big deal. But like I said, I don't want to waste money on stuff like this. So this is a consumable. You're going to use them for 3 or 4 years if you're lucky, and you might sharpen them twice a year. So we're going to go give you a shot from underneath, putting these on. And it's not rocket science, but it's a little bit awkward, because you're going to have about 6 hands, and I use my other John Deere tractor to hold up the front. Then I put in my blocks for safety reasons. So as you can see, show them the blocks. See how we have blocks here, guys? That's very important. Be careful. We've got the markings on the upside. These bolts are the same. We're going to do this by hand first. Make sure this little cone thing doesn't come out, okay? This little cone thing, and I usually just finger tight, get them finger tight. It's pretty easy. And once you're finger tight to where it feels like it's tight, then you got to walk back and forth a little bit to get them into the seat. And that's what centers it. There you go. So now that's centered on that adapter. And so we'll just tighten this first one, and then we'll go ahead and do the other two. Get it finger tight before you put that impact on there. There you go. So as you run this, it's going to tighten that bolt, okay? So if you're in question, spin it like it's going to cut, and then it should be tightening. Okay, so we'll go ahead and tighten this. 24 millimeters. About as tight as you get it, okay? It's very quick and very easy if you use an impact. If you try to do that by hand, you're not going to get it for one thing, because you're never going to be able to block it in an easy way. And just so you guys can see, these things pop off if you're not careful. So you got to kind of get them on there and give them a half a twist, and then they stay on that lip, okay? So you just kind of feed that up there. Make sure you're safe when you're doing this, because if this thing falls, you're going to lose an arm. Those things have to be uptight too, so. Okay, so there, now we're centered. I'm not left-handed, so this is awkward for me. Okay, remember, as it's cutting, okay, there we go. Okay. Make sure it's solid. Make sure it's solid. And then one more. The worst part of this process, guys, is balancing the blades. Sharpening the blades is pretty easy, but balancing them is not. So we'll do the last one. Print up. You want to give a shot of this here because they can see maybe pretty good. It's always hard to film this, but there's a little, you got to go way further so that they can see this. Here. Like that, guys. You see how there's that little ring? That ring keeps that centered, okay? All right, now you can trade me spots. Just resist the temptation to use the impact to put this on, because what's going to happen is you won't get the blade lined up on that thing, and it's going to be offset, and it's going to wiggle like crazy. The problem is you end up getting somebody hurt if you do it right. where it's tight. Give it a quick push, make sure things look good. We're gonna get this thing on the ground and we'll come right back. So once you get it lifted up, it's really easy to just pull your supports out, and then you can do this in a safe way. Make sure your wheels aren't going to spin. Then you can drop your supports right out. You're basically ready to go. So we'll show you the rest after we get it back on the ground. Okay guys, so you can see it's on the ground nice, and basically at this point we're on the ground, so we should be able to start this thing up and just make sure everything engages and it sounds nice and balanced. So there you have it, guys. If you try doing it without balancing the blades, it will sound like a helicopter crashing in your lap. So if you're into that sort of thing, that's our trick. And I don't know if it's such an amazing trick or not, but I can tell you this, without using that scale to measure it, I tried a million other ways to balance those blades and I just had a really hard time. So it can be done fairly easy, but it does take a little bit of time if you don't know what you're doing like me. And the other thing too is, the key is when you're first doing it, if you've been cutting down trees like a lumberjack, the best step to do is just go ahead and take the blades and then throw them directly into the garbage can, and you will save yourself all sorts of time. But if you've been cutting grass like a normal person, then you can just sharpen the same amount on both sides, give it a couple, 4 or 5 passes, and you should be golden. And then you can go ahead and do the scale thing. But I have a sneaky suspicion those brand new blades probably are not balanced, and we'll show you that right now. So again, the easiest way to sharpen your blades is to go buy these things. We'll link to them in the description below. But let's just show you the same process exactly. We're gonna lay it on this support, and then we're gonna lay the opposite tip right onto the scale. You can see we're 819 grams over here. And I'm curious if they're even exact. There is a label on here though. And we're 820 grams. So surprisingly enough, you have a label here which probably weighs about 1 gram, and it's also plastic wrapped. Is that plastic wrapped, or is that just an awesome clear coat?
I don't know.
Actually, I thought it was plastic wrap, but it's actually just clear coat. Wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
This must be a really nice blade. Maybe I should have just done that. Thanks for watching, guys. Check the description below. You can get them for yourself.